But the year prior, I mean, the guy was just tremendous. 1,300 receiving yards, 9 touchdowns. Veteran guy, knows how to play, great route runner, exactly what the Eagles would need, almost a perfect fit from a football standpoint. And then all of a sudden, you got 2 Alabama guys, and you could argue, yeah, I mean, look, if you go back, as I said, to 2020, you could argue he's better than Devontae. I mean, he was that good. And then you have 2 receivers of that level, and who cares if Quez Watkins is your third or you're trying Jalen Reagor, whatever. If you got 2 guys capable of putting up 1,000 yards.
Another information book I wanted to bring to the table, and it's like one of my biggest regrets, and I don't even know why it's a regret. Jay Glazer of Fox. Glazer and I used to be like this. He was an intern for me at WFAN.
I did not see everybody yesterday. Jody Mack. I'm getting a complex.
Let me finish the story. You'll feel better. 89, 90, whenever it was. He and I were boys. He went on to get the writing job with the New York Post and then became Jay Glazer, Mr. Information around the NFL. But he and I go back and we were tight for a very long period of time. All I had to do was text him and go, Glazer, I need you on my show. When and where? Boom, done. Jay Glazer has not returned one of my texts 4 years, 5 years, somewhere thereabouts. And I don't know why. And I tried with one friend to see if he could find out, and he couldn't find out. I don't know why. We just fell out. I don't think I did anything, but I never badmouthed him. I know that for a fact. But he used to be he went from being a foregone conclusion I could get him on any place, anytime, anywhere to crickets. I can't get a response to a text from Glazer. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I still think he's as good as there is in the business of information guys in the National Football League. Yesterday, he said the Eagles were this close to trading for Calvin Ridley, that they were thought they had a deal in place, and the Falcons pulled the plug on it and wouldn't explain to the Eagles why they pulled the plug on it. And then the information comes out that he was found to bet on games. The NFL was suspending him an entire year, which kind of explains after the fact as to why Atlanta pulled the deal. But we get guys here on our stream all the time. I get calls at WIP. We get Calvin. Let's get Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley be a perfect fit. There's a veteran wide receiver we could use. Well, it almost happened. The Eagle fans here in town were right. It was this close, Johnny Mac.
Yeah. And that would be a perfect fit for what they need. If you're comfortable with the off the field stuff, and I'm not talking about the gambling because we didn't know about the gambling at the time. I'm talking about the anxiety and why he walked away from the team after, I think it was 5 games last year. But the year prior, I mean, the guy was just tremendous. 1,300 receiving yards, 9 touchdowns. Veteran guy, knows how to play, great route runner, exactly what the Eagles would need, almost a perfect fit from a football standpoint. And then all of a sudden, you got 2 Alabama guys, and you could argue, yeah, I mean, look, if you go back, as I said, to 2020, you could argue he's better than Devontae. I mean, he was that good. And then you have 2 receivers of that level, and who cares if Quez Watkins is your third or you're trying Jalen Reagor, whatever. If you got 2 guys capable of putting up 1,000 yards, yeah, would have been a perfect fit. I can't imagine the Eagles would have had to give it up. They would have gotten a discount, maybe 2nd round pick, maybe 3rd round pick because he's so expensive. He would have been playing on his 50-year option, which would have been over $11 million. But I guarantee the Eagles would have worked out an extension to get that number down. Yeah, it's a shame. Would have been a perfect fit for what this team needs from an offensive perspective. And when you trade for somebody, you don't have to deal with what I say about Mike Williams, who re-signed with, Justin Herbert or Amari Cooper, now that he's going to be free and wherever he ends up going. I mean, you gotta sell those guys on you're going to be able to get your touches. When you trade for somebody, you got their rights and, they play.
Right. But in the case of a guy like Ridley, you have to be able to sell him on signing the extension. You're right. You can just get him and then you plug him in. You can have the season you're going to have, but you've also got to sell him if you want to do the extension, which we'll never know if the Eagles could have gotten that done with a guy like Calvin Ridley, but they were very close to doing just that. All right. Speaking of a relocated guy who can catch the football, I saw this on Good Morning Football this morning. Our buddy Mike Garafolo's on there, and I think he was the one who said it. Carson Wentz goes from the Indianapolis Colts to the Washington Commanders. They've made their commitment to the quarterback for at least 1 year, and that's all we're going to go, because that's all the Colts got out of him, right? They thought they were acquiring their quarterback for the next 3, 4, 5 years. One. So I'm not going to go one more year past one for Washington. But he's there now this year, and they want to improve, and they want to give him the best chance to improve, which means they need to upgrade a couple of positions. Could one of them be tight end? Could one of those improvements include the addition of one Zach Ertz, who is a free agent with the Arizona Cardinals? Could he be coming back east the same way Carson Wentz did to join the Washington Commanders and be playing next year at Lincoln Financial Field in an opposing team's uniform?
Yeah, why not? I mean, I don't, there was a little bit of, Zach, obviously, and Carson were tremendously close early in Carson's career here in Philadelphia. A little bit of talk. They weren't as close when things went off the rails. I don't know how true that was, but they've always had a great chemistry. And then when you look at what has happened to the tight end market, with all the tight ends getting franchised, all of a sudden, look, if you want a tight end, you could make a strong argument that Zach Ertz is your best available option. There's some younger players. I think CJ Uzama from Cincinnati is a free agent. Tyler Conklin is a free agent. He had a big year. Those guys are a little bit younger. But, because of the cost-effective nature of that position, everybody franchised their tight ends. 3 tight ends got franchised. I will say, in Washington, they have Logan Thomas. Remember, he's hurt. He was hurt. He's coming back. So I don't necessarily know if they're looking for a big splash at tight end, because he's a pretty good player. But again, that depends on health and things of that nature. But I see where you're going. I mean, but Zach might get a bigger payday than people expect, because those tight ends, they're not available now.
Right. Your point about 3 tight ends got franchise tag.
Yeah.
That, and yes, the franchise tag is not all that large. Tight end's another disrespected position, at least in my estimation, through the franchise tag numbers. So it wasn't a bad move. I'm not suggesting it was a bad move I'm not sure about Dallas, but I like Njoku and I like Gesicki a lot. So kudos to those teams for getting those guys locked up. But you're right. It just takes the number of potentially available tight ends off the market, which should, in fact, increase Zach Ertz's value around the league. That would bother me more than Carson Wentz coming back to play for Washington. Because Carson Wentz, but maybe we shouldn't go down this road with the result of last night's Sixers-Nets game. I had no problems with everybody in the building booing Ben Simmons. How'd that work out for the Sixers?
I think it would have been great if they just would have ignored him. Right, but I know that's not possible.
I never believed that.
I know that's not possible.
I've heard that argument for the last 25 years.
Well, it's not possible.
Radio.
Just because he's such a toxic, just be thrilled he's gone. That's what I say.
If be thrilled he's gone after the 29-point beatdown they took last
night.
Well,
he wasn't a part of that. He had nothing to do with that. He's not even playing. So I mean, that's the Sixers' problem. That they got to fix their own.
That's what I was kind of getting at. But I would have trouble like being upset with Zach Ertz coming back because he was such a class act. We talked about Jason Kelsey at the very start of the show that it's great news that he's coming back. The fact that he is as good a player as he is, as good a guy as he is, as good a personality as he is, all those things. Zach Ertz is kind of like Jason Kelsey light for me. He was a tremendously talented player and contributed to that Super Bowl championship and handled himself with class when he was here the entire time that he was here. It's going to be hard to boo him when he returned. I don't think they'd even do that. I think Eagle fans are smarter than that and classier than that. But once the opening kickoff goes, you got to root against the guy, and it's going to be hard to root against Zach Ertz when he comes to town in another team's uniform, specifically a rival like the Washington Commanders. So I'm actually rooting for Zach Ertz to land elsewhere. I don't need to see Carson Zach part two in our nation's capital.
Yeah, and I don't, as I said, Washington's pretty set at tight end, so I don't think you have to worry about it. You never know. And I think Zach's market will be big enough because of what's happened elsewhere that he'll have other options. But you never say never in this league. But I don't think you're going to have to worry about it. And you're right about, nobody's booing Zach Ertz. I mean, when he left, him and Julie, his wife, the Ertz Family Foundation, they never stopped doing charity work in Philadelphia. I mean, that guy is a class act.
Was his entire time here in town, and I believe that will continue wherever he should land. I'm just hoping it's not Washington or New York or Dallas. Don't need him here twice a year. Want to root for him. Want to see him continue his career.
The Giants, because Evan Ingram might leave the Giants. The Giants might be your bigger problem than Washington. Yeah, but I get, Ertz and Wentz. I get your connection.
But here's the problem with the Giants. Giants are going to have to overpay Mitch Trubisky to bring him in as competition for Daniel Jones. And then they're going to have no money.
Speaking of agents,
left for Zach Ertz.
Speaking of agents, Mitch Trubisky's agent, I got to look up who it is, has done a tremendous job because he's got everybody. Everybody wants Mitchell Trubisky. Everybody doing a hell of a job, making his money.
I will at least credit Mitch Trubisky with this much. Of the guys who we've spoken about today, who are not starting quarterbacks in the league, despite what someone may say, Chauncey Gardner, the Eagles backup, Nate Sudfeld, the 49er backup, Mitch Trubisky actually has, for me, shown more traits of a starting quarterback in the league. And I know Gardner Minshew started down in Tampa, down in Jacksonville, but his agent is at least tapping into some actual tape work that the guy has put up and taken team to playoff appearances, whereas Nate Sudfeld has never done that.
I'll tell you what, Mitch has a ton of physical gifts. I mean, he's a tremendous athlete. I mean, tremendous. So, yeah, I mean, people will talk themselves, as you saw it in the draft. I mean, there's a reason he went number 2 overall, and it's not because he doesn't have a ton of athleticism and that arm strength and all the kind of stuff. But, man, he just was not good in Chicago. He's just, he just wasn't picking it up quickly, Maybe a second chance. Maybe it works out better, but it looked ugly at times in Chicago.
What's your pooch's name again?
Isabella. Yes, she's not a big Mitch.
Isabella. Yeah, I don't know if she is or isn't, but she's got serious opinions on Mitch Trubisky, whether it's positive or negative. You can only interpret. I don't know what your dog barks.
That's negative.
That's a negative?
Yeah.
All right. So she's not buying what Mitch Trubisky's agent is selling or attempting to sell. And as Johnny Mack points out, he's doing a nice job of it because there's a lot of talk about him landing a starting job in the league. We shall see. All right. Quick time out here. And then one of our buds, Jeff Kerr from CBSSports.com, going to jump aboard here on Birds 365.